Welcome back, everyone. This is episode 37. We're actually going through a little bit of a heat wave here in Vancouver. It's about 27 degrees. I am thoroughly enjoying this. We're starting today with $9,200 in the bankroll, so getting close to that five-figure mark. I actually played about 9 short sessions this video. I'm finding it difficult to find time to play poker. I got some big changes happening in my life. My home's actually up for sale. Hoping to get it sold within a month or so. Um, and I'm actually going to take a short break from my career. I'm going to take the winter off, and I'd ideally like to do a West Coast road trip from Vancouver through Seattle, stop off in Portland, Reno, Las Vegas, Phoenix, and ending up finally in Austin, Texas. I may also include California, I'm not sure. Don't worry, there's going to be a ton of poker as well in each of these locations. And I'm going to buy a nice editing laptop so you guys can come along for the ride. Um, yeah, I'm getting a bit old. This might be my last chance to do something like this, so I am going to take the opportunity to do so. But this is all in the near future. Right now, we've got a few hands to go over, and let's see if we can make it up to five figures. I'll see you guys in the hand histories. All right, let's kick this off with a hand that I definitely messed up. There is an early position raise to 12. Low jack has called, and I'm in the big blind ace jack suited. Could squeeze, could call. It's an early position raise, and these low stakes players generally don't have a very wide raising range, so I do elect to call here, which I think is fine. Get to a flop of jack 6-3, one spade, and two hearts. Amazing flop. I check it over. Under the gun bets half pot. Low jack calls. And now back on me, this should be a check raise 100%. But I'm just not that good at check raising top pairs. Something I definitely need to study more on. I don't think it matters too much in live play because players aren't defending as wide as they should, but our hand's just way too strong. He bet half pot. That's not an over pair at all. This should just be a check raise, but I elect just to call. It's definitely a mistake. And the turn is the 10 of hearts. Completes the flush, and jack 10 also gets there, so not my favorite card, but I check it over, and the original raiser also checks. Low jack thinks for a bit, assembles a bet. He does this thing where he puts out $50 and it looks like he wants to add more, but then stops and then bets 50. This man is bluffing. He is bluffing, okay? He has absolutely nothing. So I make the call fairly quick. Under the gun folds. I will say the only value that he has that bets this size is going to be jack 10. He's not betting flushes this size. He just has jack 10 or just a complete airball. Maybe some flush draw with like the ace of hearts, or maybe like 4-5 suited, or like 8-9 or something like that. But we're off to a river, which is a 5 of diamonds, pretty much a blank. I check it over, and he thinks for a bit, and then fires a really big bet of 150. So jack 10's not betting for this size. I don't think he has any flushes in his range here. I just don't think they bet this size, so I just think he's got a bluff here. Like, I can't think of any hand that he could have that plays this way. Maybe pocket fives with a 5 of hearts. That's not betting for $50 on the turn, so doesn't make sense. I toss in the call. We get shown the bad news in the form of the 7-4 of clubs. That one is not going to go our way. Not a great start to the session. Okay, in this next hand, I have Queen 9 of clubs under the gun +2, and I bump it up to 12. I only get one caller, the low jack, who's a little bit short. So we go heads up to a really nice flop of Queen 8 deuce rainbow. I like to have some top pairs in my check range, so I do check this one over, and low jack bets half pot. We're definitely going to call this $15 bet. We're off to a turn, which is another queen. Proven to trips, making it a bit less likely that we are outkicked. Check it over to him again, as it wouldn't make sense to lead here. Low jack bets $15 now. It's a tiny little bet. Raising doesn't make too much sense either, so I just call, and we're off to a river, which is the 4 of spades. Check it over once again. He does another tiny bet of 25. I should have just called this. I saw his hands and they were shaking like crazy when he made this bet. For a recreational player, that usually means they're very excited. But I just thought this is a tiny pot for trips. And my hand's quite strong, and I think that he could definitely have some like pocket 9s, pocket 10s, pocket jacks that could pay us off. But at the same time, like, I don't know. Just, I had a gut feeling and I should have stayed with it, but I do go ahead and rip it all in. And he calls fairly quickly and is very excited to turn over his hand, which happens to be pocket 8s. Yeah. Pretty bad run up for us. Can't improve there on the river. That one is not going to go our way either. All right, we've reloaded, won a few small pots, and we have ace king offsuit under the gun. I raise this up to $12. We get the same person as the last hand who calls, and we also get another caller from the low jack. So we are three ways to a beautiful flop of king 9-4 all hearts. Definitely going to start betting here. Checking is also fine, but I bet small 12. Middle position calls, and so does the low jack. So we're three ways to a turn, which is the 10 of diamonds. Doesn't change too much, so I'm going to keep firing away here. I bet $50. And middle position now, throws in a $1 chip. It lands. Dealer looks at him, and he goes all in. This should be a call, but dealer ruled it all in. Oh well, I'm not one to really push the rules, so folds back around to me. I don't think there's anything we can do here but call. We got nut flush draw, top pair. Like, it sucks. We're probably going to be beat here, but decent price. We're calling, 150-ish to win a pot. It's going to be 500. And we do have the nut flush draw. So I toss it in, go to a river, which is the 4 of spades. I show. Unfortunately, my opponent has another set for pocket tens. This one is not going to go our way either. Okay, let's see if we can turn things around with the old 10-8 of diamonds. Cutoff has limped. I raise it up to 15, and then the big blind and the limper calls. We're three ways to a really nice flop of Jack 7-4 rainbow. It does have one diamond, so when it checks to me with a backdoor flush draw and a gut shot, and the fact my opponents aren't going to hit this board too hard, I go ahead and bet 15, and only the limper calls. Off to a really nice turn. We get the 5 of hearts here. 5 of diamonds has been nicer, but now we do have a double gut shot. So when he checks to me, I'm going to keep betting. This card is much better for him than it is for me, so if I do want to bet, I do need to go large. We are at $75, so it looks like SPR is 150, 300, so about 6 SPR, I think. No, 4 SPR. Just under 4 SPR means we want to about pot it, so I do go ahead and bet 75, and my opponent calls. So off to a river, which is the ace of diamonds. Checks to me, and with 10 high, I just can't check this one back. We do have quite a bit of value here, right? We're going to have 6-8 suited. I'm going to have ace jack. I'm going to have a whole lot. Yeah. But we do need some bluffs. 10-8 suited seems pretty good. I go ahead and shove it all in. And my opponent folds. Whew. Finally won a hand. Turning things around. In this next hand, the table is very tight passive. Pre-flop, I've just been stealing a ton, like an absolute ton of hands, just taking them down pre-flop. So we have an early position limp, and I raise the king 10 of hearts in the hijack, or so king 10 off in the hijack to 15. A little bit too loose. I'd prefer to raise this, maybe the cutoff, definitely the button. But the table's just been so passive and weak. So I'm raised up to 15, and we actually go quite multi-way. We do have 4 ways to the flop. It comes down 6-6-7 rainbow. Checks to me, there's just too many hands that connect with this flop, right? You got 8-9, there's a bunch of gut shots, pocket pairs. Any 6 or 7 is going to continue, so I do just go ahead and give up here. And it checks around. Head to the turn, which is the 4 of hearts. Checks around, and I choose to check as well. And now cutoff puts in a tiny bet of 15, which is less than 1/4 pot. With the flush draw blocker, as well as 2 overcards, I just can't fold here. I do go ahead and call, and the river is really nice. It's the 8 of hearts. Now any 5 makes a straight, as well as the flush gets there. I can't win with my hand, and my opponent just isn't going to have much. Like, pocket 5s is probably the best hand he's going to have here. So I go ahead and turn my hand into a bluff and lead out. Not something I do very often, and not something I would do against a reg. But I make it 55, and my opponent pretty quickly folds. So bluffing is working. We are off to the next hand. We have ace queen off in middle position, and I bump it up to 12 before the big blind makes it 40. Most 1-3 players, I would just fold this and not even think about it, but this man does play 2-5, so we are definitely gonna have to defend ace queen. Could 4-bet this, sometimes turn into a bluff, but I think calling is okay in position. We go to a pretty good flop of ace king 6-2 clubs. We're either way ahead or we are way behind, so when he checks it over to me, I'm just gonna check this one back. Off to a turn, which isn't great. It's a 4 of clubs, so flushes do get there. As well as any of his, ace jack or the jack of clubs does pick up quite a bit of equity. So he does go ahead and bet $40 here. I rate to be ahead quite a bit of the time, so I do toss in the call. And we go to river, which is another king. Not what I wanted to see, as this is probably how he plays king, jack, king, queen. But he checks it over to us. and now we have a pretty clear value bet. Sizing, I want to go probably about 66%. I don't want to go too polar, so I just go, yeah, 110. And he thinks for a little bit and tosses in the call. We show, and it's good. I think he had ace jack or something like that. Picking up pocket eights under the gun, I raise it up to 12, and only the middle position player calls. So we're heads up to a flop, which comes out pretty good for my hand, which is 10, 9, 6, 2 hearts. So we do have, you know, an okay pair on this flop as well as a gut shot. But I would be checking all my hands on this board. So I check it over to him, and he checks it back. So off to the turn, which isn't great. It's another 9. That's not a bad card, actually, but no sense in betting this hand, so I just check it over, and my opponent bets pot. Pretty tough. We could probably fold here, but with full house outs as well as a gut shot, I think it's a bit too tight, so I go ahead and call. Off to the river, which is the king of hearts. Pretty good card. I will have hands like ace king. I will have a lot of nut flushes here. So I check it over, and my opponent bets small, $30. I think we could call with this hand, but we do have a heart blocker. We block 7-8, block 9-8. It's just such a good bluff candidate here, and I am going to need some bluffs because I play almost all my nut flushes this way, like on this run out. So I go ahead and bump this up to 125. Opponent thinks it over for a bit, but ultimately makes the call. Fortunate news, I show, and my opponent has the queen jack. It's a really bad river. It's literally the one outer to get him another $125. Right, if only an 8 came. That would have been nice, but we are not going to win this one. Okay, this hand is pretty interesting, and I'm using a few bet sizing tells on this one. Cutoff is raised to 12, and I bump up ace jack suited to 35 on the button. Pretty standard. Now the original limper overcalls, and now the cutoff 4 bets to up to 120, which is just way too big. But while he was thinking, I did some thinking of my own. And a few hands ago, maybe like 2 orbits ago, we're in cutoff and button again. He had a much smaller stack at about 200-ish, like 220, but he raised it up to $18 over 2 limpers. And I 3-bet to, I think, 55 with ace-jack offsuit. Weird. Folds back to him, and he just shoved all in there. And I think he had, like, pocket queens or something. So he's adjusting his pre-flop raise size based on the strength of his hand. And he's definitely someone who's capable of 4-bet bluffing. So while he was in the tank thinking about if he's going to 4-bet bluff me or not, I just decided that his $12 raise is just not real. You don't have anything here. So as soon as he puts in the 120, I snap shove all in. Really happy to take this one down pre-flop. Hijack is actually now thinking, but he folds, and cutoff already has given it the sigh. So he's going to be out of there, and he does make the fold. So really nice to pick up that pot because I was paying attention this time, which is something I'm doing less and less in these low stakes sessions, but made the good read and picked up $155. In this next hand, I have ace deuce of hearts in the small blind facing 4 limps, so I bump it up to 20 and only the button calls. This is just a pocket pair. This man has nothing else in his range besides pocket pairs, deuces through 7s, I'd say. I think pocket 8s he would definitely raise, so he's got deuces through 7s. That is it for his range. So we go to a flop of 8, 6, deuce, rainbow. Quite a few sets there, but we do block pocket 2s. I don't think he's ever going to have pocket 8s, or the heavily discounted, so we're only looking out for a set of 6s. So I'm going to start and turn my hand into a bluff on the flop. I bet 20, and he calls. Off to the turn, which is the 10 of diamonds. And I definitely think he can find some floats with hands like, maybe he's got 7s, but hands like 5s, 4s, and 3s. So I think one more bet is going to get the job done. And if he calls, we're just probably going to be up against a set all the time. Bet 75, and he calls. Not what we wanted to see. We get to the river. I've already decided I'm not going to bluff, but the river comes down to 6 of spades. And I should have thought about it for a second, but I just snap check. But this should definitely just be a jam here. And I should have sized up a bit on the turn as well, but there's only one combo of pocket 6s and one combo of pocket 2s, and I don't think he ever has 8s or 10s here. So yeah, this is just like a mandatory bluff, and if he's got quads, he's got quads. But Silly me, I had already decided not to bluff, and I check it, and button checks back really quickly. Not happy with myself for this. I show my hand, and he does show the pocket sevens for... Yeah, I'd probably call turn there with a gut shot as well when he picked up equity, but really should have been jamming that river. Yeah. Something a little funky happens this hand. I'm not looking at my chip stack when the hijack has called, and I throw 3 chips, which I thought were red, but they were actually white, so I am actually limping instead of raising this hand. Oh well. Button also calls, so does the small blind and the big blind checks, so we're 5 ways to a flop, which comes down Jack 9-5. Really wish I had raised. It's a little bit interesting. When I put the $3 in, my hand was still on the chips, and I said 15. Which, I don't know, I think it could be taken either way as I'm not done my betting yet. Like, you can put the chips in and say all in. But I guess the dealer just didn't let it happen. So people think I have a strong hand here. They don't think I have ace, king, or aces or something here. But checks to me, I put out a bet of 10 and get quite a few callers. So we're still 4-handed to the turn, which is just overkill. Another 5, we turn quads. Even better news, Hijack, who is a very old man, very nitty, leads out for $40. Nothing to do here but call. Button also calls, and big blind calls. What? Off to a river. We're hoping for like the messiest river, like the 10 of spades or something. Comes down the king of diamonds. Not what I was looking for, but big blind snap donks for 161. Another person donks. This is insane. Hijack does fold. He looks so excited about his hand. I won his last $91, so I ship it. Button folds. Button actually folded King Jack. That's insane. And big blind now, obviously he calls. He actually called out a turn. We show our hand, and he had the Queen 10 for the river straight. Don't know what the old man had, but the other guy did have top 2 and managed to get away. But yeah, pretty big pot with quads. We are raising it up the 7-6 of clubs under the gun. I make it $12. We do get a couple callers, so we are going 4 ways to a flop of 10-4-3, 2 spades, 1 club. We have a gut shot and quite a few backdoors, so I am going to go ahead and bluff with his hand. I bet pretty small here, 15, and only the cutoff calls, so off to a turn, which is it's pretty nice. Turn the jack of clubs. Does give him some top 2 potential, but we also do pick up the flush draw. SPR is looking like it's about 2, so you're wanting to bet around 60% pot here, which is going to be around $50 to $60, so I make it 50, and hoping not to get jammed on here, but he does make the call. Off to a river, looking for some help, and it comes in the 4 of clubs. We make our flush, and we set up the river jam nicely, so I do go ahead and shove all in. Fortunately, cutoff does make the fold, so we are not getting paid that hand. This is a pretty interesting hand. We are looking down at 2 limps, and I got 10-8 of hearts on the button. I bump it up to $18, and only the small blind calls. This is going to be a pretty strong range. This man's not doing this with like 7-6 off. He's got a real hand here. Just based on what he's been playing. And we go to a beautiful flop. Ace, 9, 6, 2 hearts. We got the gut shot as well as a flush draw. So when it checks to me, I'm going to bet. I think like something like 66%. I think I went a bit too small here at 20. Yeah, it's less than half pot. This should be much bigger, but he makes the call. Off to a turn, which is, it's all right. We pick up a pair in the 8 of spades. Checks to me, and we're looking like we're about 5 SPR, and I want to get stacks in on the river, so it's going to be a slight overbet, like 115% pot. So I do go ahead and bet 100, and he doesn't think for too long and calls. A little bit concerning, looking for some help on the river, which we do get. However, it's a 10 of spades. So now any 7 is a flush, is a straight, as well as Queen Jack of hearts and Queen Jack of spades gets there. I really don't like my flop sizing because of this. Interestingly enough, though, he does lead for 125. That sucks. Given that I raised pre-flop, I think he put me on any hand that's like a 2 pair at max, like ace 10, ace 9, or just ace king. So he could be leading here with any 7. Queen Jack of hearts gets there. He could definitely have top 2 here. He could have a backdoor flush. And for bluffs, like what can he possibly have? Right? He called flop. He called an overbet on the turn fairly quickly. Like, there's just no... He can't have bluffs here. Like, try name a hand that's a bluff here. I can't do it. So we are unfortunately going to have to fold our 2 pair. So I show him, hoping he shows back, and he does show the King Queen of Hearts for a bluff. When I first saw this, I thought, wow, what a terrible bluff. Like, it's blocking every hand that he wants me to have. Like, Ace King, Ace Queen are going to fold here. King Queen of Hearts, King Jack of Hearts, he wants me to have that. And I just thought, wow, what a terrible bluff. But the more I thought about it, like, this is probably his only bluff combo. And when you have one of your only bluff combos, like, you need to use it. So I actually quite like his bluff, even though the blockers are just horrible, because he just doesn't have bluffs, right? Like, this is it. King, Queen, maybe King, Jack of Hearts is it. And he's got a ton of value. He's got a ton of backdoor flushes and a ton of 7x here, right? He's going to have 6, 7, 8, 7, 9, 7, 10, 7 suited, as well as like Queen, Jack of Hearts. Like, he's going to have a lot. So I actually quite like his bluff in the end. And he gets it through against our 2 pair. We finally have a real hand. Pocket aces in middle position. I raise it up to 12, 1 caller, and then this player 3-bets us to 60. Pulls back around to me, and can I just say how lucky I am with aces? Like, well over 50% of the time I have them, I'm getting re-raise. It's amazing. Against this player, he is never folding once he 3-bets, so there's nothing to do but jam here. I could be trappy against other players, but especially hijacking the hand, I just jam. Cut off doesn't think for too long and makes the call. Off to a flop of ace 7, 4, 2 diamonds. We have the ace of diamonds. We've got him crushed here. 9 of diamonds on the turn. Not too worried. River is the 5 of hearts. A few straights in there, but he's not going to have those. I show, and he shows the ace, Queen of Hearts. This poor man got stacked 4 times for $400 in like less than an hour. He was in the game for like $2,000 in less than an hour. It's pretty brutal. Okay, this is the final hand. We are $120 away from making it to $10,000 in the bankroll. This is it. I have also been experimenting with larger raise sizes pre-flop, as we're just going so multi-way every single hand. And so I've been trying maybe like a $10 raise with plus $5 per limper. So I'm trying that out in this hand. We are looking at 3 limps, so I make it 25 on the button, a little bit loose with 10-9 offsuit. And it doesn't work out. Small blind calls, big blind calls. Under the gun folds, and then the other 2 limpers also call. So we are 5 ways to a flop in this massive bloated pot. Comes down really nice. It's Jack 8, 6 rainbow. Small blind now checks, big blind checks. And now middle position, one of the limpers leads out for $75. Could be doing this with Jack 8 suited or 8, 6 suited, but I don't think so. Sets are never leading here for this size. He would check raise for sure. So I think he's capped here at top pair. And it's just going to put him in a really gross spot if I jam here, right? I can still have queens, kings, aces, ace, jack, as well as all the sets. So like his lead here is just not really great with his top pair. So I go ahead and jam it all in with my open ender. And the player to my left who covers me snaps. We're up against a set. Big blind folds, under the gun folds, and middle position folds his top pair. We win this. $10,000 in the bankroll. Looking for no board pair and a 7 or a queen. The turn, however, is the 8, and my opponent immediately rolls over his quads, and we are going to lose this $1,200 pot. A little bit too loose pre-flop, and we get punished for it, but that is it for the hands. Thank you for watching. That is it for episode 37. We started this challenge today with $9,200, and I played about 19 hours across the 9 sessions, so yeah, very short sessions. I'm just going to rattle off the stats of winner losses, and I'll add them up at the end. So we started off with a loss of 150, loss of 7, loss of 147. Then we went on a 5-win streak for 19, 178, 169, 294, finally 198. And we finished with a rather large loss of $695. This is a total loss of $141. What a waste of an episode. That's gonna bring the bankroll from 9,200 down to 9,051, 9,059. Next episode, we are gonna get to 10,000. I'll see you all there. Thank you once again so much for watching. Do the things down below.